Welcome to an episode of True Crime. Let's get it. Roll the intro music.
Hope everyone is doing well today. Welcome back to A.K.A.'s 10th episode. We're finally here. Every 10 episodes, we're going to be doing something called True Crime. A lot of people have been asking for it, so here it is. Amelia, take it away.
Okay. Fashion and crime. Two things I love the most. I love them. Fashion, oh my god, it's just exhilarating. And learning about crime, amazing. So today we'll be talking about the murder of Gianni Versace. If you don't know who that is, well, okay. If you don't know who that is, where have you been? Hiding under a rock? If you don't know who that is, he was a beloved designer. He made clothes, shoes, everything possible, purses. He had sold out shows, and he did something with fashion that no one could foresee. Like, no one could see his shows coming. He changed fashion to what it is today. He ran the industry throughout the 90s until he died. The man behind his murder, Andrew Cunanan. Cunanan murdered 5 people, and he was one of the FBI's most wanted criminals for quite some time. He managed to evade the police before he met his end in 1997. Impressive. I have to say, he is probably one of the smartest people out there, despite being, like, psychotic. He spent years evading the police. And he
In
was
what
so
way,
young.
though? Like how?
Like, he murdered, I want to say, 5 people. And then the police knew what he looked like, yet he was still going to bars and drinking because he was that confident that he would be able to escape from the police. It's
Damn.
crazy. So, I think the best way to start any story is from the very beginning. So, Andrew Cunanan was born on August 31st, 1969, as the youngest of his family in San Diego. His mother was Italian American and his father was Filipino. His family didn't really have the best relationship. You know, his parents would always be fighting, and he was raised in a really hostile environment. And if you know anything about, like, being raised in that kind of environment, sometimes being raised like that could be a route for his violence. It could be the reason he was the way he was because he had to take everything that he learned as a kid and put it out onto people. He really looked up to his father, who was very abusive towards his mother and very neglective of his other siblings. So that could have been, so him, murdering people could have been a product of that broken household.
Yeah, definitely.
Growing up, he went to public schools, but in high school, he left the public school system and enrolled in a very prestigious Bishop High School. That's the name. And this was like your, like, stereotypical, like, oh, we wear uniforms, we have money household, like in a household school. It was a very rich school. People there didn't worry about money, but Cunanan sort of had to. At first, he wasn't worried at all. His father was a stockbroker and quite a successful one for quite some time. But as you know, according to, like, recent events, the stock market doesn't always work. And it just, you'll see in a second, but that all just kind of came crashing down on him. Cunanan was really smart. When I mean smart, I mean, like, really smart. He had an IQ of 147, and he was fluent in 7 languages.
7? Wait, like, do you know
7.
the languages? Like, do you know what
No,
languages?
I don't know
No.
them off the top of my head, but I just
Damn.
know that he was
I
fluent
can't
in
even speak
7.
one right.
Exactly. I can't even speak
I can't speak
both right.
English
He's
right.
doing 7.
I'm pretty sure the like I want to say normal, but like a smart IQ is like what? Like 120?
20. Anything above there is
120.
considered
He is
really smart.
146. Like
Yeah, he's above average, essentially. Not above average, above what the highest would be.
above average.
Above. Yeah,
Yeah.
this is
Yeah,
above.
he's really smart, but this is, like, a common thing you see amongst serial killers and spree killers. They're all usually very, very smart. Like Bundy and I can't think of anyone with a high IQ at the top of my head, but if you know anything about true crime, you know that a lot of people can evade the police and they know there are ways around this kind of stuff because they are very smart. They always used to do well in school and etc. etc. But back to the Cunanan thing. Throughout his high school years, he was very open about being gay, but it was like the 80s and the 90s. People were still a little like, iffy on that subject, but he was very popular. Like, don't get me wrong. People were just kind of like, I don't know, he's kind of weird, but he's very popular. At the ripe age, nice, of 15, he began going to gay bars in disguise to hide his age and ethnicity. At 15, so my age,
Mhm.
he would dress up, kind of change his looks around a bit, and then go to gay bars to meet older men because he
Wow.
needed a sense of validation, sort of something like what he couldn't get from his father, you
Mhm.
know?
I could see why he did that. Um,
Yeah,
I feel like that's just something really hard to pull off.
it is, but at the same time, it was a different time.
Yeah, that's true. It was in
Mhm.
the 80s. It makes sense and how that could be easily done, I guess you could say, in some aspects.
Yeah. It was just easier back then, but it wasn't easy nonetheless. It was easier but not easy. Um in 1987, Cunanan finally graduated from high school. I always find this funny, but in his yearbook for his high school, they wrote him down as most likely to be remembered, and he was, but probably not in the way everyone was expecting.
Mhm.
Probably not, no.
I don't think when they said most likely to be remembered, they meant killing Gianni Versace and then like five other people. I don't think that's
Like,
what they meant.
being notorious.
Yeah,
Well,
I don't
yeah,
know. They were probably shocked. I mean, their yearbook was right. He's gonna be remembered, just
yeah.
not in a good way. After high school, Cunanan spent most of his time at gay bars, attracting older, wealthy gay men, maybe to substitute for his lack of a father figure growing up. These men would pay Cunanan with expensive gifts, and they would bring him on these extravagant vacations. They often referred when they took him on these vacations, they often referred to him as a secretary or associate. And if you don't know what I mean by gifts, I mean like one of the men he was with gave him a $30,000 car.
He really had a sugar daddy, damn.
And he had sugar
He had
daddies.
multiple sugar
He
Multiple.
had
daddies. Yeah.
many sugar
He
daddies.
wasn't playing around.
He wore designer fashion. He had nice cars. So he got accustomed to this money lifestyle, always having money around him, always being like, oh, give me this, give me this, give me that. He had it all. So when everything started going downhill in his life, he was like, what is happening? This isn't how it's supposed to be. This isn't life. Cuz he was raised from 15 to like 18 on I have money, I have items, I'm set for life. But materialistic items like that won't always make you happy. So, as he was living his best life, he was learning his way around the ropes. His parents were living the complete opposite lifestyle. His father, as I mentioned earlier, was a stockbroker, but not a successful one at this point. He jumped firm to firm, and at his final one, he was wanted by the FBI for embezzlement of $106,000. He was a very wanted criminal because he stole a lot of money. A lot of money. After this happened, he fled the country, abandoning his whole family. He left his wife with nothing. He didn't give her
Damn.
a cent. So she
She was
was on her
essentially
own.
she was on her own. Yeah, exactly. I
Yeah,
mean,
she was
damn.
He couldn't give her, right? Because he was, like,
he didn't
broke.
but like
Well,
any money they had saved. Anything.
he
If it
probably what he
was
probably did was take all their whatever their savings were, and he just left the country and left her for
Mhm.
herself. It's
yeah,
most likely what happened. Probably is what happened, actually.
he flew to the Philippines because that's where his home was, but yeah, he did not leave any money for Mrs. Cunanan. And she had to work her way around it because she had kids. Like besides Andrew Cunanan, she had other kids, and now she had no money. She lives in this big house in San Diego, like a huge house. So she had to move to a less flattering neighborhood. It was a lot of people thought that Andrew hated the way he lived because or his mom lived because he was so accustomed to having this money from these older men. He was probably so used to it by now that when he found out that his mother was poor, he was like, "Oh, what the hell?" Like at this time, he went to visit his mother one day, and I remember reading that he told her he was gay, and she got so mad at him, and then they got into a verbal argument, which led to a physical argument, which led to Cunanan dislocating her shoulder.
Oh my gosh.
I
He
think it's
was mad.
Yeah, he was
yeah.
already starting to bloom into that murderous kind of creature.
Yeah, and anything from here, it just gets worse. It just gets worse. So Cunanan went to college after his, fun time from hopping gay bar to gay bar. But after starting college, he dropped his studies to go visit his father in the Philippines.
Oh my god.
Like, you probably expected him to drop his studies to go be with a sugar daddy, but no, he was like, I'm gonna go say hi to my dad in the Philippines. When he went there, I think he only bought a one-way plane ticket because I think he expected his dad to have money there. So he went there, and when he saw that his dad lived in poverty, he was so ashamed that he couldn't stay with him. Like, he went in the Philippines, he went gay bar to gay bar until he had enough money to come home to the States. Like, he didn't want to stay with his father. That's how embarrassed he was because his dad was poor. So, as you can see, money, wealth, his image was all really important to him. He wanted to be seen as this rich, oh, look at me type of person. He wanted to be flashy. He wanted everyone to see him and be like, wow, why can't I be like him? So when he came back to the United States, because he left his father in the Philippines, he continued his regular bar hopping as he always does, but this time he started getting new identities every night. Like, he would make this new persona and he would reenact it every night. At one high level event that he got into through a friend, he met Gianni Versace. The only reason they talked was because Versace mistook Cunanan for someone else. But since Cunanan was using a secret identity, he had never bothered correcting him. So
Hmm.
Versace got the wrong guy. He's like, "Hey yo, my friend, how you been?" Cunanan's like, "Who the hell are you?" But you know?
I
He's like, "I don't know who I am right now, but I guess I can roll with it." I mean, like, I don't really know what's going on. But I think that makes me think, if Versace had never talked to Cunanan, or if Cunanan had corrected Versace, is there a chance Versace would still be alive?
I don't that's a good question because I feel like even if Cunanan did correct him, Versace wouldn't make any sort of speculation or connections anywhere. He would have just been like, "Oh, my bad," you know? But then I feel like
Yeah, but
he also
I
would have might have questioned like, "What are you doing here then?" You know?
mhm.
Like
I
what's
think
your reason for being here?
I think if they hadn't talked for so long, maybe Versace would have just been like, "Oh, there's just this guy, he was nice." Because you have to remember, Versace was also gay. So when Versace was talking to Cunanan has such a high image of himself and he thinks so highly of himself, he could think that the world's greatest fashion designer is hitting on him.
Yeah, exactly.
As you'll see later, or as I'll tell you later, Cunanan wanted to be like Versace. He wanted to just completely resemble him, be like a clone copy. But
Yeah,
you'll
I got you.
you'll see what goes down. So time went on and Cunanan got older, but all his fun time activities just left. They were gone. Everything went downhill from here. He began getting involved in harsh pornographic films that featured dark sadistic acts, like stuff that would mentally scar him.
Wow,
And
he really took a turn
yeah,
so
he took
fast. Oh
a
my
he took
gosh.
a 180. He
Yeah,
was just like,
180
"Oh
for
yeah,
real.
my life, yeah, it's just it's kind of bad. Whoop, it's gone. My life
Whoop.
has gone completely downhill." The older men he used to party with had already moved on, leaving him all alone without any friends. So he was completely alone now. And he lost who he was. He gained weight, he stopped taking care of himself, and he began doing so many illegal things. He, like some of the illegal things he did, he committed petty theft, he prostituted himself, he dealt painkillers, which he used himself. So he would have painkillers with vodka while also selling painkillers and prostituting himself.
Oh, that's not a good combo at all.
It's not.
That's just another 180 again, like literally.
Yes, yes. And this is the reason why everything just went downhill in his life. He had a picture perfect childhood when it came to like school and everything, but his family was probably the reason that everything went wrong. You know, everyone's bound to crack at some point.
Well, I mean, I feel like yeah, his family could have been, and most likely probably was a part of it, but it could also be like we don't always know all the details of these people.
Hmm.
Like he could have had something in his mind just bothering him, or people at school or something like that. Like you have no idea. Like
Yeah.
he could have someone on the street, and that could have been influence. We would have no
You
idea.
never know what makes a person crack, and that's what's
Exactly.
terrifying.
Yeah.
Like, we'll never
Seriously, it
know.
really is.
So, as his life was going completely downhill, nothing was bringing him joy. Like, nothing. He was just depressed, upset. He was really, really down there. And a dark side of him had emerged during this time, and there was no stopping it. This is where everything hits the fan. In April of 1997, Cunanan began suspecting that two of his lovers, two, Jeffrey Trail, a former naval officer, and David Madsen, an architect, were seeing each other behind his back. So he was like, "Oh, my lovers, they're cheating on me." I
The
mean,
fact that he had 2 though.
I think it was at different times, but he suspected that they got together after like they had broken up.
Mm.
So he kept asking them. He was like, "Hey, are you guys together?" And after asking so many times, they always denied it. I think they were together, but they always denied it because they knew Cunanan would get mad. So at this point, Cunanan was pissed. He was like, "My lovers, they're seeing each other behind my back. They won't tell me." So he flew to oh my god,
Wait.
Minneapolis. There we go.
Yeah, I couldn't say it.
Minneapolis. Oh my god. St. Paul Airport. And he was picked up by Madsen and taken to his home. According to Madsen and Trail's friends, they planned to reassure Cunanan once again that they weren't together. So he flew all the way there because he suspected them of being together.
Yeah, you could already tell that there's something bad's gonna happen with that.
Yeah, he was
If he takes the
not.
initiative to literally go see them to confront them about something quite simple, then
Hmm.
you know something's not right. They're gonna oh god.
Yeah. So when they were together in the apartment, a heated argument sparked between them, unfortunately, leading to Trail's death. With a hammer taken from a kitchen drawer, Cunanan bashed Trail's skull in.
Oh my
He
god.
forced Madsen to help him roll the body on a carpet and pretend like nothing happened. Like they sat there with the body for like 2 days
What? But the
because
thing is,
they
Madsen
lived in an
can't do
apartment.
anything because he knows that Coonan would kill him
Yeah,
if he didn't hesitate to kill Trail. What I'm thinking is, why was it Trail and why wasn't it Madison? Like, was there a specific reason?
because Trail was the one that was. I think the argument consisted of them like arguing about if they're dating or not, and
Yeah, yeah.
Trail was the one that was just closest to him.
Uh,
Oh yeah, oh yeah. I was also thinking it could have been, Trail was the one really pushing the "we're not lovers"
That's
thing.
also true. But the body was sooner or later found, and they were nowhere to be found. But the thing is, when the body was found, the people in the apartment building had no idea that Cunanan was there. So Madsen was the only person in the apartment as of right now, and they were like, "Oh, Madsen's on the run. Everybody get Madsen." They didn't know that
Mm.
he had Cunanan with him.
Yeah, it was like a planned setup frame
Mhm.
unintentionally.
He probably, like, thought
Unintentionally.
this through his
Yeah.
head.
I mean, that's true. He probably noticed that he's not gonna get caught for this. This isn't his apartment. There's not a dead body in his home.
And Cunanan has that confidence ego too. So even
Yeah.
if he did have that, he would have been like, ah, it's no big deal.
You'll see his ego in a second when I tell you this. So Cunanan and Madsen had to flee from Minneapolis. I'm
You,
not
you, you
not
got it. You
again.
got it. You got it.
Not
You got it.
again.
Minneapolis.
Minneapolis.
There you
There we
go.
go. So they had to flee. Cunanan realized that he loved the feeling of being on the run. Like he thought nothing was stopping him. He couldn't be caught. His ego was so big that he wouldn't allow himself to be caught. This exhilarating feeling that he felt is what led him to pulling over on a country road and shooting Madsen to death with a gun that he took from trail.
Oh my
Oh my
god.
god.
He loved the feeling of being on the run so much that he was like, "Oh, I've already killed one person. Let me kill a second and then run completely on my own."
But then the thing is that like he didn't hesitate to kill two of his lovers. Like
Yeah, he
like
has
the
no
fact that
emotion.
they're his lovers was is
Mhm.
just kind of like whoa.
Yeah, you can see that he didn't hesitate. And
No.
those
Oh
were
my god.
brutal, like those were very brutal murders, but this next one is even worse. If you're
Oh, then the
easily s-
forewarning.
yeah, if you're easily scared by like gore, I'm gonna mention this name now, and if you ever hear it again, you are going to hear a very brutal description of how this man died. Right now, I'm just gonna give a kind of overview on it, but later on, I will give a more detailed description when I talk about the modus operandi. So, on May 4th, Cunanan attacked Lee Miglin, an elderly, successful real estate developer in Chicago. He was an old, I think gay man. He had a wife, but he saw men behind her back, sorry. So, if you can remember, I said that Cunanan would like go bar to bar talking to older men. So when they all left him, he felt a need to attack them. So that could have been a motive for this. This is how Lee Miglin died. He was tied up with duct tape, tortured, and his throat was cut. That's it's bad, but
Yeah, that's because that's not an immediate death. That's essentially like
yeah. But then
uh
Cunanan kind of got in a car and ran his remains over with his
oh
own Lexus. So once Miglin was already dead, he got into Miglin's car, like his Lexus, and just ran him over and then stole the car and kept driving with it.
oh but why okay. I don't understand the logic behind that one. But
He
he just
he knew
he
he
just
would
found
be.
it you know, he was really I
He's
guess
like, "I'm not
I don't know what
done.
the right
I have
word
to do
is.
this."
Well, I
Mhm.
think by staying in the car, it really just even more motivated him. He's like, I have literally people can like now they have a reason to catch me. You know what I mean? And it
Yeah,
fuels him more.
like
And with
I
the
was.
Lexus, with the tires and everything,
Like, he wants to get caught.
no, he doesn't. I don't think he wants to get caught. He just wants people to look for him.
Oh.
Yes,
Like
he
he
liked the
wants that.
feeling of
That
being on the chase.
yeah. He like it's like they're the thing from the high school. He wants to be remembered, but like he also just he wants to be seen as well.
I think like as you just brought up high school, I should probably bring this up. He was always a person to make big flashy movements. If you look up Andrew Cunanan high school photo, he took his high school photo shirtless with nothing but a tie on and pants.
What?
Like he wanted to be seen, he wanted to be remembered, he wanted to be flashy. That's what he lived for. So when he had the police on him, he was like, people are finally recognizing me. I'm finally getting the attention I deserve. So he was really like, wow, this is all for me? You shouldn't have type of moment. So while he's on the run, on May 9th, about 5 days after he attacked Miglin in Chicago, he held up a caretaker, William Reese, in Pennsville, New Jersey, and he forced him to give him the keys to his truck and then shot him even though he complied. William Reese said, "Hey, I'm doing everything you want. I'll give you the keys to the car Just please don't shoot me. I have a family. And Cunanan was like, okay, just give me the keys and I'll leave. Reese gave him the keys, and then Cunanan proceeded to shoot him, even though he told him that he wouldn't, and he complied. It's really fucked up. He then,
Yes, especially since he had a family too. And
yes,
normally in the 80s, the men normally ran like for gained the
yeah,
money for the family. So
yeah.
that's pretty upsetting.
It's you can think about it in a way that his father, like a kid's father, was taken away, just like Cutanan's father was taken away. That's reading really into it, but it
No, but
could have
it's
been
true. Like
something.
people can die really fast, and you won't even know what happened.
Yeah, and Cunanan's proving it.
Yep.
So he then drove away in the car that the keys belonged to, and he left the Lexus behind since he knew people were looking for it now. With this car, he made his way to Miami Beach. Whoops.
Oh
Beach,
god.
Florida, where he rented a hotel room by the month. So he drove, let's just track this. He drove Minneapolis, Chicago, Pennsville, New Jersey, all the way to Florida.
He drove, you said?
Yes, all of this was by car.
Oh my god. That's a good
That is
like
quite a distance while on the run for the murder of 4 people.
but the thing is no one knew where he would go next either.
Exactly. He's very
But
unpredictable.
he, like, left behind his, like, evidence of, like, where
Hmm.
he
Yeah,
might be
he
going.
didn't care. Like you normally see serial killers, they clean up after themselves and try to look all petite, but like this dude was just like murder. Ah, you know what? I'll leave him a little hint. I'll leave him a
I'm
little
gonna give him a
crumbs.
little something, little
Yeah, I'm
something
gonna leave
on
a
the
little
side.
something, and then he just drives off with the car that like he fucking ran him over with. Like,
Yeah, just it's insane. It's absolutely insane. So while he was in Florida, Cunanan did what he always does. He visited gay bars, and he acted as if he had done nothing wrong. So he was like, he's going gay bar to gay bar, meeting new men, going around with them, having a little partying on the side, while also being on the hunt because he killed 4 people, 4 of them, you know. So he was seen with people. Like he hung out with his friends, and he went to bars, bars, and he like publicly showed, "Hey, police, I'm in Florida. I'm going to bars. Come get me." And at this point, the police were aware he was there, but they hadn't tied him to the crimes until June 9th. He was placed on the FBI's 10 most wanted fugitives list because he was seen near Miglin's home, and pictures of him were found in Madsen's car. So finally, everything is coming together. All his dirty little icky clues that he placed his fingers on were all coming together and crashing down on him.
but like, wait, how did they get pictures in Madison's car?
Because they found Madsen's car, and inside of it were pictures of, I'm gonna assume, Trail and Cunanan. Because remember, they
Oh,
were
gotcha,
good
gotcha.
friends. Before the murder happened, they
Yeah,
were
that's
good
right. They were
friends, even
lovers.
lovers.
Yeah.
So it would make sense why he had pictures of him in his car.
Yeah, yeah.
So he was on the FBI's 10 most wanted fugitives list, which is like a bad list to be on.
Yeah.
You don't want to be on this list because now not only is the FBI after you, but your wanted picture is posted everywhere.
Everywhere.
Like you walk in, someone's like, "Hey, aren't you the guy from the news? Oh my god, you're the guy from the news. Oh my god, you're a wanted fugitive. Holy shit, I'm gonna die now, aren't I?" That's what happened. You know, people are gonna start recognizing you.
How do you even react to this? I would just run. Like,
That's what he should have done, but he still had some pent up anger that he had to take care of.
no. I mean, like, if I saw him,
Oh, oh,
I would
oh,
be.
oh.
I don't know if should sprint away or just like slowly pretend I don't know what's happening.
I'm like,
It's
"I
like he
don't know
walks
you."
in. Yeah, he just walks in. He's like, "Hey, can I get a candy bar and like some cigarettes?" And you're just like, "Yeah,
Yeah, no
here,
problem, man. Yeah, here
here
you
you
go.
go.
I'm going to the bathroom real quick.
Yeah, I'm just gonna go pee." And then he's like, "Oh, okay."
Okay.
I mean, it happens. People gotta pee. So after 2 months of bar hopping, Cunanan followed Gianni Versace home from a cafe on July 15th and shot him execution style. So
How's
Versace,
that?
Execution style.
yeah. So to give you a better visual image, Versace was walking into his home, and if you know what Versace's home looks like, it's like an elegant house, and it's
Yeah,
like it's
he's a
facing the
fashion designer.
water,
Oh,
and there's a gate at the front of it. It's on like a regular street, by the way. Don't get me wrong.
oh,
This isn't
did
like
he?
a
Oh,
big street.
oh,
This isn't
okay,
like
okay, yeah, 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 I
this
know what you're
isn't
talking
like
about now.
Hollywood. No, 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 no. It's like regular houses and then just Versace's house. And there's a gate there. And Versace went to open the gate, and as he was opening the gate, Cunanan stepped behind him and shot him in the back of the head.
Mm.
Yeah.
And that's how Versace died. That's
Didn't
what
Versace also have like? Wasn't he also married or something at that point?
yeah, he had a husband and he had a sister.
That sucks.
Yeah, and that's what brought this case so much attention. Like, I even at the beginning, I called it the murder of Gianni Versace, when Gianni didn't really play that big of a role in this case, but it's so famous because Cunanan killed Versace.
Hmm.
Like, he had so much power that he murdered one of the world's greatest fashion designers. Like, it's crazy. And even though he was wanted for so long, practically a month had passed, people knew his identity. He evaded the cops until July 23rd. Remember, he was placed on that list June 9th, so almost 2 months he got away from the cops.
And he still committed a crime.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, the thing is, like, why Versace? Because he wanted to be like him, so he thought if he
You'll
killed him, then he could become that
you'll
identity.
see it in 1 second. I'm gonna talk about his
My brain
motives.
goes too fast for this. Yeah.
Yeah, you're all over the place. You'll see. But at one point, a SWAT team raided the hotel that Cunanan was believed to be living at, only to find no trace of him. Like, he just wasn't there. But 2 days later, the hotel staff realized that they gave the investigators the wrong room number by mistake.
Oh my god. Oh my.
So
He didn't
Versace
even
could
know.
have
Oh my
he
god.
could have been there.
Yeah, he probably was there, and then realized, oh shoot, there's SWAT outside. Let's just
I'm
pretend
just
like we're
gonna stay inside,
chilling.
you know.
Yeah, let's just chill. Maybe take a
So
bath.
no, no, no. But on July 23rd, he was staying in a houseboat in Miami Beach Harbor. So he had a boat, like he had a house and he had a boat, but he wasn't planning to go out of like Florida because he had nowhere to go. But he was just in this house, and he was doing fine. But he was spotted by a caretaker that went to check up on another client's boat. So as we were saying, the caretaker was kind of walking by, and he was just like, "Hey, aren't you that guy from the news? Aren't you that guy that killed someone?" And then Cunanan was like, "Shit, this is quite a problem." And after a long standoff, Cunanan shot himself in the boat's master bedroom with the same gun that he used to kill Madsen, Reese, and Versace. He was 27 at the time of his death.
Why didn't? I mean, he could have shot the other guy. Essentially, he could have, but I guess he was so sick of running at that point.
Which one?
The
Well,
caretaker.
the caretaker.
Yeah.
Oh, he could have, yeah, but that would have. Remember, he would have had to get rid of a body. It's
Mm.
Well, then
Miami
since he
Beach.
was on the boat, he could have just put it in the water
Well,
and
it
then
was a
like go
harbor.
away with
Remember, they were like. It's not like he walked onto the
client's
boat to
boat.
see him. It's like he just kind of caught a glimpse of him hiding.
Mm.
Oh, I got you, I got you. So okay, yeah, I understand now.
You
Yeah,
see what I
that
mean?
would have caused more problems if he shot him.
Yeah, because Miami
Yeah.
Beach is popular.
It's
Like, there's
huge. Yeah,
tons of people there.
yeah.
Of course, he wouldn't want to have like a
And the
random
gunshot is super loud,
gunshot.
and
Yeah,
by the time he even was able to get to the body, people would be swarming.
that's what's crazy about Versace's death, though. Remember, Versace is one of the world's greatest fashion designers. His house always has visitors. People go there every day to look at his house. So the fact that Cunanan was able to murder him in broad daylight and then walk off is insane.
And
He
right,
walked.
like and it's right in front of his house too.
Mhm.
Like I feel like he should have more protection. Maybe I don't know.
He didn't
Something
need
just doesn't seem right there. I feel like he timed that too perfectly. But at
he
the
didn't
same
need it.
time,
He
he
doesn't
didn't
he didn't
need
need
to.
protection usually, but that's what happened.
80s, yeah.
So,
Or
that's
now
the
90s.
whole story summarized. That's everything that happened. So now we're just gonna go over the modus operandi, the profile, and that's where we are. So, Cunanan's modus operandi, and if you don't know what a modus operandi is, it's a distinct pattern or method of committing a crime. Like, it's a way someone does it. So, Cunanan's victims were all men of different ages and professions, three of whom were directly or indirectly connected to him. The other two were just kind of random acts of violence for his own pleasure. They were just kind of conveniently there. That's sad, but they just were. He killed three of his victims with a semi automatic handgun, the same one that he used to kill himself with. And this is, as I said, if you ever hear the words Lee Miglin again, and it's gonna get brutal now.
Yeah, it's
So
gonna get really brutal.
beware. If you are very scared, I would skip ahead a few seconds. Um, his first victim, Trail, as I mentioned earlier, had his skull bashed in with a hammer. Oh, his third victim, Miglin, was tied up and his entire face, except the nose, was covered with duct tape. He was beaten, stabbed in the chest with a pair of pruning shears, his throat slashed slowly with a hacksaw, and then his body was run over with his own car.
So wait, why did he do such a in-depth like murder from Miglin,
I
but for everyone else he didn't? Was he just a kind of experimenting as what he could
it's
do?
hard to tell because
Like,
I think Miglin's murder was committed more or less out of like the thrill of it. Like, oh my god, I'm on the run and I'm gonna so brutally murder someone and they'll never see it coming. You know?
I'm just it's such a bad way. Like all of these ways are horrible to die, but
Mhm.
the fact that he was still alive during all of that is just
Luckily, he
he,
wasn't alive for the car part.
but he was still alive for getting like stabbed in the chest and for going through just the duct tape on his face, the shears, like the hacksaw, all of that. It just like it's just really sad.
Yeah.
It's really sad because
His his throat was
there's
slashed
never every reason. There's
slowly.
never a
That's
reason
the
for
worst
someone to
part.
die. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
It wasn't like he was like, "Oh, let me just kill this guy and get over with it." No, no, no. He slowly killed this guy.
That's the worst part.
It's awful. But if you know anything about the FBI, they have a unit called the BAU. I'm sure a lot of people know what that is because of the popular show Criminal Minds. But the BAU is the Behavioral Analysis Unit, and when they're needed, they're called in to analyze the crimes of a criminal, and then they're supposed to give a profile, which is supposed to help the police catch this criminal. So they gave a profile on Cunanan, and it helped track him down in the end. They knew he was a narcissistic person. He was obsessed with how others see him and his overall image. I mentioned that many times earlier in the case. He was obsessed with looks. He couldn't stand to look at his poor father because he was poor. And he compulsively searched for attention, fame, success, all of which his father had taught him to crave. He wanted to be the best, which was his ultimate downfall. He always wanted to be better than everyone, but that's what's going to ruin him the most. That satisfaction he was going to get from being the best, but he couldn't get it is what broke him to what he turned into. And as I had said earlier, Cunanan was very smart, but he was also a pathological liar. That was most likely due to his toxic household, which he constantly wanted to escape from, but being a narcissist, a pathological liar, and a genius is not a good combination. He was also believed to be like psychotic and bipolar, but I'm not sure if he was ever diagnosed with it. He
Probably
couldn't,
was.
yeah, he most likely was. He couldn't stand when people like discarded, underestimated him, or more importantly, abandoned him, which he thought Madsen and Trail were doing. Like you can see all of those three things: discarded, underestimated, abandoned, all shown in the way, well, the interaction between Madsen and Trail. You can see that he thought they were together, and that caused him so much anger because he wasn't number one. He was being discarded, that he murdered Trail and then murdered Madsen. It's just like they probably had so much coming for them and they weren't aware of it. His first murder was most likely a product of his jealousy and opportunity. You know, they were just all together. He was mad. He was jealous of Trell and Madsen because he didn't have that happiness that they had. You know? And after getting away with this murder, he most likely developed a mentality that he was unable to get caught and he wanted to continue killing. He thought, I got away with killing 2 people already. Let me just get away with some more. Because he was like, the police can't come get me. Like, they didn't get me for, you know, they didn't get me for a few years now. They're not going to get me now. You know, he became careless. And at times he would even leave a trail behind, that led straight to him. I was about to include a very bad pun there about leaving a trail and murdering someone called Trail, but I didn't because it's, probably shouldn't.
You just did, but it's okay. We can pretend like that didn't happen.
Yeah, we'll just we're fine. We're fine. So Miglin's murder was most likely a murder committed out of thrill. Miglin represented all the older, wealthy men that resented Cunanan. His murder was nothing but sadistic and cruel. There was no feelings behind it. Cunanan didn't even feel bad about what he did to Miglin. There wasn't a bone in his body that was like, oh, I shouldn't have done that. I'm so sorry. No. He was just like, ha ha ha, I'm gonna run you over now. Skirt, He was he was insane.
You can see this is
Cunanan,
where he was like kind of evolving
hmm
as a serial
yeah.
killer.
So, like, was Miglin, like, just this random rich guy that
I believe that Cunanan was going to Miglin's house to kind of be like an escort, like a prostitute. But
Mm.
when he got there, Miglin was like, "Hey, how you been?" He was like, "Step, step, 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 step. That's how I've been, bitch." You know, that's how he felt, and that's kind of what happened. He went to greet him, and then Cunanan was just like, "Nope, nah,"
Not
and
today.
not today. You good? So Cunanan always wanted to be the man that Versace was. Versace was famous, elegant. Everyone knew his name. He was on every article, every newspaper. He was the front page for everything. You know?
Mhm.
That's what Cunanan wanted to be. He wanted the attention that Versace had. He wanted to be on the cover of those articles. He wanted to be talked about, rumored about, but he had none of that. He wanted that fame that celebrities get. All that drama, all that, oh, did you hear? Ashton Kutcher and Mila Kunis are back together? He wanted all of that, you know?
And
Mhm.
that's
But
what
he didn't.
Versace had.
That's what Versace had, and he didn't have any of that.
Mm.
He targeted Versace because he was obsessed with him. Or you could say he was obsessed with Versace's image, which he wanted to take from him. Because when he murdered Versace, Versace wasn't going to be on newspapers anymore. Versace wasn't going to be trending for his clothes. Versace wasn't going to be talked about. Versace was going to be talked about because he was murdered by Andrew Cunanan.
Mhm.
Versace's
Yeah.
death is going to be on the front of the paper. Why? Andrew Cunanan. Andrew Cunanan had so much power over Versace's death. He was going to be involved in every article, every newspaper. He would hear it all. All this attention from the media would come towards him. He would listen to it and it would fuel his ego. He murdered Versace to get that attention. Was it worth it? Probably not. Does he care? No.
No.
He doesn't care at all. that he was, he was caught, he had his 2 months of fame for murdering Versace. He was on the news. He was on every station. Everyone talked about him. Everyone was like, "Did you hear Andrew Cunanan murdered Versace? Did you hear the other people he murdered?" He was finally being talked about. Something he wanted all of his life, and it was finally being gave to him for
But
something that he did.
yeah, but it wasn't, like, good fame. It's
It
like
wasn't, but
yeah.
to him, he was psychotic. To him, fame was fame. It doesn't matter whether it's good or bad. He doesn't care if the rumors are stupid. He doesn't care if the rumors are bad about him.
And he would literally do anything to get it, and he showed that literally by killing Versace.
Mhm.
Yeah. And there was a moment where not Versace, Cunanan, when he was in the boathouse, right? He was looking at the news, and his dad was trying to profit from Cunanan. And that made him so mad because this was supposed to be his moment. This was
Mhm.
supposed to be his his final show. And then his dad was trying to steal that from him. And
Sheesh.
it's insane. In the end, the FBI classified Cunanan as either a spree killer or a serial killer. He sort of possessed elements of both. He did kill each of his victims individually, and he had cooling off periods in between, which was like 2 to 8 days every time. But
Oh, so,
he also acted impulsively and committed murders out of necessity. And he committed suicide before he could be captured.
yeah, but he does have both in there. I thought like a break would be like a day, but you said a day or two.
No, no,
So,
it was 2 to 8.
oh, 2 to 8.
Because he went, I think the
That's still a
longest he
very
would
short
go
amount of time.
was 8. Yeah.
So he killed because he killed Trail and then Madsen in like, essentially the same month, and then Miglin was also in that same month.
It was okay, so he attacked Trail in late April. Then May 4th, he attacked Miglin. May 9th, he killed Reese. And then he stopped, and about a month later, he killed Versace.
Okay, so those
Didn't
are
he also
bad
kill the
pictures.
caretaker?
Yeah, that was
What?
Reese.
Between oh,
At
that
May
was
9th.
oh, yeah.
Oh, he
So
did kill the caretaker.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
Oh,
Man, we had a whole talk about this.
I must have blanked out. So,
You were talking about how sad it was.
It was Trail,
Trail,
Madsen,
Madsen, Miglin,
Reese oh,
Miglin.
Miglin. Miglin.
Miglin, Reese, Versace.
Oh, yeah. See, I forgot about Reese.
Yeah, yeah, he killed him. Luckily, he only shot him instead of doing what he did to Miglin. But
Well, he didn't have time to do what he did to Miglin.
true, he needed that car. He needed to get on the run. The police were already after him.
He probably would
So
have. I think if he had more time, he most definitely would have, which would have been horrible.
yeah,
But
that
I feel like he might have done that.
that would have been
Yeah, I
crazy.
don't think there is
No.
a way to even classify him if he's a spree or serial because he does have both
I
attributes.
mean, you could argue that he was more a serial killer than he was a spree killer, because
Yeah,
even though his crimes were impulsive and they were they were crimes committed out of necessity, he didn't kill them in a very short amount of time. That's why the spree killer thing didn't really add up.
yeah,
Mhm.
I get
He
that.
did wait a little before killing each person instead of just killing anyone he saw, you know?
Yeah, he was kind of selective to who he picked too, in a
Mhm.
manner. Like even though Madsen and Trail were next to him, he selected those two instead of just picking someone else who wasn't even in the
Yeah.
argument.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
I mean,
yeah,
like, this whole story is, like, called, like, The Assassination of Gianni Versace, but, like, the story behind Cunanan is, like, it contains more, and it's just like, wow,
mhm.
like, you have
Yeah,
to
Versace's just one piece.
mhm.
But that's
It's
what
like
brought the case so much fame.
yeah, like, his motives and stuff to kill like, leading up to Versace's, like, murder, like, what caused him to essentially assassinate Versace. It's because he lived through all of this,
Mhm.
um, and he's a serial killer, basically.
He was the product of a broken home. That's
Mhm.
he had a bad home life, and then he had a bad life in general. It just did not work out for him, and that's the case sometimes. That's what happens. Conan was a really sick person. He did the unimaginable to people while hiding in plain sight. He was told in high school that he was going to be remembered, but he proved them all right, just not in the way that they were expecting.
Yeah, that whole entire thing is just kind of crazy. Not about like, yeah, it's bewildering to think that someone could do that and could not get caught for a certain amount of time, and that each death, even though some of it wasn't thought out, a good majority of it was. And I mean, we weren't even alive then, but
Mhm.
it's still being talked about today. And
Yeah.
I feel like secretly that's what Cunanan wanted, was that just to be remembered. Doesn't even matter how, just as long as he's remembered. And
That's
I
what
think
they
it's even more
that's what they
crazy that
always want.
we only know it because of Versace. Like, yeah, he
Mhm.
would
Mhm.
have been talked about because of the other murders, but because of Versace, it's being so known, like,
Yeah.
today. It's
That's why
just
it got so much
really
attention.
bewildering.
And that's what serial killers usually want. They want to be remembered, no matter if it's for their crimes or their good doings. They want to be remembered and they want to go down in history. And that's what they're gonna get. There's no stopping talking about them. Like, look at us. Every 10 episodes, we make a crime episode dedicated to explaining a criminal story. Like, it's messed up, but it's what interests us. And that's what interests a lot of people our age. And
Mhm.
there's no stopping it. You can't not talk about these crimes because there are jobs dedicated to studying these crimes. They're gonna be talked about regardless. And that's the thing about being a serial killer, is that even though you get caught, you end up getting what you want in the end.
Yeah, exactly. Hopefully everyone kinda got a sight of what each 10 episodes is gonna be about. That's essentially what we're gonna be talking about. It's what a lot of people wanted, and we do find this stuff very interesting, as Amelia said. So we like to discuss about it, and not just to record about it, but we do talk about it on our own time as well, because it's just very interesting how different people can think and kind of be overwhelmed by their own mental power and eventually become physical power. So we'll see you guys next time.
Yep. Bye.
I
Adios.
If you want to support us, you should follow our socials. Our website is akapodcast.carrd.co. There, you can join our Discord and sign up for our email. Our Instagram is at A.K.A. Podcast, and don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel at a.k.a. Thank you for joining us, and see you next time.